Starting a podcast can feel like a huge undertaking. You hear the word podcast and immediately think about equipment, editing, guests, scheduling, and all the other logistics that seem to be overwhelming. But here's the truth. Starting a podcast doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to consume all your time. In fact, if your goal is to grow your business, build trust, and create relationships, you only need to focus on a few key principles. Once you understand the core elements, everything else becomes secondary. It's not about perfection, it's about starting to show up and be consistent. The first step to getting started is to clarify your purpose. Why are you starting this podcast in the first place? Are you trying to attract new clients, build authority in your industry, connect with referral partners? The reason behind your show will guide every decision you make, from the topics you cover, to the guests you invite, to the tone of your conversations. Without a clear purpose, it's easy to get lost, distracted, and ultimately very frustrated. Your purpose acts like a compass, helping you navigate every choice and ensuring that every episode moves your business closer to your goals. Once you've defined your purpose, the next step is identifying who your audience actually is. Who are you trying to reach? Think about the people who would most benefit from your knowledge, expertise, or perspective. These are not everyone. They are your ideal clients, potential partners, and people who are most likely to take action as a result of hearing your show. Understanding your audience will help you create episodes that resonate, stay relevant, and deliver value. The more specific you are about who you are talking to, the easier it becomes to speak directly to them in a way that builds trust and authority. With purpose and audience in mind, the next step is planning your content. You don't need to overcomplicate it. At the simplest level, you need a handful of topics that directly address your audience's questions, challenges, or interests. Start with 5 to 10 core ideas, then think about variations, guest perspectives, or ways to dive deeper into each subject. By having a clear plan, you remove the stress of wondering what to record each week. You're not creating content blindly. You're leading conversations that are intentionally designed to build your business. Now, let's talk about the format. A podcast doesn't have to be super long. In fact, depending on your industry, shorter episodes might even perform better because they're easier for your audience to consume. 10 to 20 minute episodes is enough for solo shows where you're sharing insights, answering questions, or teaching a concept. Now, if you're bringing somebody on, you might want that to be a little bit longer. The goal is consistency and not length. It's better to release shorter episodes consistently than it is to create one perfect hour-long episode once every other month. Listeners respond to reliability and regularity. They begin to expect your show, and over time, that expectation turns into trust. It's a word we say a lot here. Equipment and technical considerations are often where people get stuck. You don't need to invest thousands of dollars before you start. A quality microphone, a pair of headphones, and a basic recording software are enough to get started. And if you're concerned about production, a studio or technical support team can handle the setup, recording, and editing for you, like us here at the Video Podcast Studio. The key is that your focus stays on the conversation, not the technical details. You want your voice, your insights, and your ideas to be the priority. Technology should serve the conversation, not overshadow it. Once you've recorded your first episode, you need to publish and distribute them. Hosting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts make it simple to upload and share your episodes. The important part is to start. Don't wait until you have every episode done. Don't wait till the whole season's done. Publish what you have and refine as you go. Early episodes are learning opportunities. You'll gain clarity on pacing, delivery, and audience response. The sooner you start, the sooner you can iterate and improve. Another critical step is promotion. A podcast isn't going to necessarily grow on its own unless you actively share it. Use it in your email list, social media, and website to highlight each episode. Clips or highlights can be repurposed into short form social media content, making it easier for people to engage without committing to the full episode immediately. But remember, promotion is not the goal. It's a tool to ensure that the conversations you are having reach the most amount of people who will benefit the most from it. Focus on value, not virality. Consistency is the most important factor in building momentum. A single episode won't create results. A few episodes released inconsistently also won't create results. It's a cumulative effect of showing up, sharing your perspective, and leading conversations that build trust and authority. Pick a schedule you can maintain, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, and stick to it. Your audience will notice reliability, and over time, that reliability compounds into credibility. It's also important to remember that you don't need to do everything yourself. If guests are part of your strategy, which for most businesses it should be, consider inviting them strategically onto your podcast. Focus on people who can provide complementary insights, add credibility, or serve as potential referral partners. But even solo episodes can be incredibly effective. Sharing your perspective, addressing common challenges, and providing practical insights establishes you as a knowledgeable and trustworthy resource in your industry. The goal always is clarity, relevance, and usefulness to your audience. Repurposing content from your podcast amplifies your reach. One episode can generate multiple touch points, social media clips, emails, blog posts, and even internal training materials. This is where the efficiency of a podcast becomes apparent. Instead of creating new content every single day, you can have one conversation that provides value across multiple channels, reinforcing that authority and keeping your message consistent. Efficiency matters more than ever. We're all overwhelmed, we're all tired, social media consumes all of us. A podcast allows you to maximize every conversation. And finally, the most important mindset for starting a podcast is action over perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Waiting for the perfect script, the perfect setup, the perfect guest list will delay your results indefinitely. Just start. Start simple, start clear, start consistent. Focus on building trust and not producing flawless content. Nobody really cares if you're messing up in your content. And over time, you'll improve naturally. And as you record more episodes, you'll find your rhythm, your style, your voice, and that consistency will pay off far more than trying to create something perfect from day one. The takeaway is simple. Starting a podcast is not about complexity. It's about clarity and action. Identify your purpose, know your audience, plan meaningful topics, record consistently, and focus on the conversation. The technical aspects can be simplified or outsourced. The growth comes from showing up, leading conversations, and building trust with your audience. In 2026, businesses that start their podcasts now position themselves for long-term authority, connection, and opportunity. And the sooner you start, the sooner you begin building that trust. And as we talk about always, that trust is the most powerful tool you have for growth in your business. So take the first step, decide why you're starting your podcast, define your audience, and record your first episode. Keep it simple. Record it at home if you want. Focus on consistency. Use your voice to lead conversations that your audience cares about. And over time, you'll create authority, expand your network, and position your business as a trusted voice in your industry. That's how you start a podcast without overwhelming yourself. That's how you create momentum. And that's how 2026 becomes the year your podcast builds real results for your business.